Hello, 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 and welcome back to more ASMR. I guess graphite ASMR? It's graphite ASMR. I guess I draw now and I do soft talking into a microphone. So today, I know Wednesday I had an idea in my head what I wanted to do, and I forget what the idea was, so I decided to kind of go for something else. And honestly, that's always okay to do. Never hold yourself to a single idea. Allow yourself to explore what other possibilities are available to you, right? So, right now, right off the bat, it's a little bit on the fuzzier side because I'm lightly pressing on the paper. So, it's what I'm working on today is a little bit of a scenery sketch. So right now I'm just getting off of what kind of features in the scenery do I want. I'm also trying to capture kind of like what kind of environment am I trying to make. Now what I was also going for with, just because I find that I draw better when I am not allowed to erase what I do. So, or at least I don't allow myself to erase anything that I put onto the paper. So this was kind of in some regards called I guess you could call it a stress test. A stress test to see how far I can push my creativity, see how far I can push, what kind of styles I can do at what points. None of it just because I don't really, I can't play instruments too well because I can, it seems like after a certain period of time, I fall out of sync with initially what I'm doing. So I decided to capture that sort of random spot, like the jump back and forth, erase what I initially was thinking, and then start a new concept of what's going on in my head. It very, very tough to explain, sort of like just the actual functionality of what you're doing. I'm simply just kind of going off of what's going on top of my head. Right now, what I was trying to go for is I really wanted to do a cool river scenery, but I wanted it to try to think of as much detail as I possibly could. So putting it like to make it, and also to make it like slightly as realistic as I wanted it to be. Again, for me, this is just nothing more than a stress test. It didn't have to, it's not turning out to be any sort of grand piece of artwork or anything. I just wanted to see how far could I push my capability with graphite, or a number 2 pencil. But there's a lot of things that I'm not like really good with, and plus also on top of that I need to either adjust the camera or figure out how else I can make the picture a little bit better. I'd have to, that's just me having to do my research. I'm also noticing that I'm going to have to soon trim my fingernails. They're getting a little long. So, right now, like one of the things that I really like trying to convey is motion when there is none. And I guess that's maybe just being, I don't know. I like trying to think, so this is running water. How would, if I was looking at this, how would the lines fall onto a camera, right? So if you were to capture a still shot of running water, it's never perfectly just one straight tube of water. Like, so let's say it's coming out of your faucet. It's not a straight tube of water. Each granular on the inside of the faucet that the water passes through determines what kind of state the water will end up in as the faucet's turned on. So the same thing with a river. You have to kind of gauge where you're placing rocks in order to capture the best way the water will move. I know a few other things that I've been trying to do was convey texture. More texture, like more defined detail in a very, I don't want to say despotic, I want to say unrefined, unput together, like similar to like just, well, that's wherever my pencil ends up landing, and at whatever pressure I do it at is what it's going to end up being, basically. Mostly, like while doing these kind of stress tests, also I like to use my peripheral vision to do the sketch to see what. So one of the reasons being is because I like putting my focus. I like to use all my focus on a single spot. The issue is kind of like I think there's a scientific specific thing that's going on when you're looking at something in the dark and the center of your vision is blocked out. So the best way to see in the dark is to use your peripheral vision to kind of focus in on whatever you're working on. I found doing that same sort of technique while you're sketching, especially with the style like that. I prefer more freehand style. No, I'm not trying, like, if anything, I just want to get the motion of the graphite to portray what I'm trying to draw as best as I can. And then from there, add more detail. When I think I'm done, look for more area I can add more detail. And then continue to do that till you get to a point where it's like, if I keep putting more graphite onto this paper, it's going to be black. Though it's funny with doing so. Oh, there is there's a little bit of a Valheim inspiration on this, is the structure of the building. Now, it's not perfect Valheim, but it was just to get some sort of something was there that was man-made. So one of the things, and this is, I recently, and I just figured this out today, and eventually I'll end up, I think it's in this episode that I'll be drawing it in, but, oh, and by the way, this sketching that I did today, I ended up working on it for about 3 hours. So I have now about 3 hours worth of content that I have to do ASMR over now. which to be fair is fine, because I still got at least a good another 2 hours left that I can put into that piece. So I have all of next week covered. Unfortunately, it's going to be this. So, I have to do something with, I videotaped myself doing this for 3 hours. I might as well put it out there for a specific purpose. But, and again, like always, nothing ever has to be perfect. It could be as close as you can remember it. Even if you're putting hard lines on the paper, it doesn't matter, just as long as you finish the sketch. Now, what I should have done a little bit more was actually bring it up to the camera so you can see more of the finer details of what's going on. But the only issue, like, one of the things that's actually kind of funny that that I'm thinking about it is I like showing my friends what I do. I already told the story of I did stain painting for a friend's wedding. But it's funny to do these things and then see what your friends think of it. It's weird. It's not in a manner of I need validation. Nah, I know to a degree how well my art is. Or my sketchings, I guess. But some people may undervalue it. Some people may overvalue it. I like getting what my friend's assessment of it is, and then gauging it upon, and then obviously friends and family, their opinions. Now I'll be able to add the opinions of the internet, which may or may not be a good thing. It's always a good thing, though. I like people expressing their ideas. I like to see what people are thinking. Now, granted, to be fair, I did erase this. I did use a little bit of the eraser, so it's not like perfect, but I just wanted to undo that because it just didn't. It wasn't a layer that needed to be there quite yet. So I started with making the structure of the house next. I needed to figure out where exactly, because we're getting to the point where shading may come into play. So I had to think of where exactly the sun would be. So I started figuring out where exactly are you looking at this structure from? Where is it in relation to the land? Where does the land end up resting? Now, for some people that haven't played Valheim or have no idea what Valheim is, there's a system in which you have to cook food, and in doing so gives you more stamina and whatnot, but they have a function that when you're cooking your food, you have to have ventilation. Ventilation is key because the smoke could actually kill you. So this is, people that play Valheim will understand what I'm making right now. Just a ventilation for the fire to cook the meat. Now, of course, if I encourage anyone to get a number 2 pencil, sheet of printer paper, and just let your imagination run wild. And always just like stress test yourself. Even if you think you're not even a good sketch artist, that doesn't matter. Sketching is just a mere form of confidence combined with reasoning, combined with knowledge of things. I remember what it was like to watch the smoke rise from the housings in Valheim, how their smoke mechanic functioned, basically. So for me, recreating it, I had an idea what it would kind of look like. So all I had to do was put a rough guesstimation of what it would kind of be like. It doesn't have to be perfect. This is just a very minimalistic bottom layer to get the idea on paper. Reason being is because from there, any of the mistakes that you made, anything that may be off, quite frankly, are some of the best drawings I've ever seen. I love the sketchings or recreation art of people's faces that are famous. So the meme ones. So we should never feel like we're failure in our own eyes. There's no sense in it. Why should I why should I believe that I am a lesser than someone else by the metric of putting graphite onto paper? I don't, like, somehow we have a hierarchy of people with skill, which I understand, it makes sense. It's just, it's tough because how do you measure that? Because I've seen some people that make just, I have no idea what they're going for. I can't even capture, like, it's that modern art stuff, and I'm talking about like some of it I can see where they're going for, but it's whatever. It's the equivalence of expressing the minimum version of an idea, which I mean is always a good thing, but when it comes to art, yeah, you want it to be something that someone will remember. That it resonates with you. I think that's what always captured me about paintings, especially famous paintings, that there's something about it, like every stroke that the artist put onto the paper or put it onto the whatever fabric. I don't know. I'm not an artist. It seems that there was meaning to the way his or her wrist was positioned against the paper and stroked in just the correct manner in order to apply a material in just the right way. There's something about that talent that I always found fascinating, to be so I guess it probably is no different than a friend of mine's going through the whole the Musashi book, and he just finished reading it. Told me a few different stories about it, and quite frankly, the man sounds absolutely amazing. Whether it's fiction or not, I have a feeling that it actually did happen. It's just nowadays it's hard to believe that there's anything greater than commonality. But it expresses a man's intuition for change and growth. Now it sounds, there's just something that I can't get out of my head that just seems to be just like a gender nature. So the nature of a specific gender, like the black to white. The willingness to change the world around themselves, to better themselves in the world around them. Is that a human? That should just be a human trait. That's something that deep within our hearts that cries out that we have to become better. In any regard, like, it's because every time you start to slack off. Every time you begin to believe that you are okay the way you are, ends up becoming the moments that you wish you never thought that. At least I know that's how I was. You think that, oh, okay, I'll get my act together next week. And at that point in time, I will finally have the willingness and the chances, and the capability, or in general, the capability to change my life. To start becoming better. We always keep setting future goals, only then to make excuses when those goals become the present time. that's something that I had to really, really recognize within myself. Mostly because it seems as if we live in a ever-present. Now I know that the Buddhists and the Taoists and other religions would talk about things like that we are in a constant state of presence. That worry is fear being prepared for tomorrow. That the scars that we allow to remain on us are permanent. Now, a lot of people will then relate that it takes time, and I agree. The only issue being is how much time does it take you to change? For me, the mere act of making my bed in the morning seemed foolish and energy wasted. Though it's funny, because now I do it every day in the morning, and I still think the same thing. But I like going to bed to a nice, at least, now I'm not going overboard. I am not part of the military. I have never been. My dad was part of the military. He was in the Navy. Unfortunately, he's colorblind, so he was never able to advance in a military career. But I never been. It's not a stickler thing, though. I progressive. I think the reason why I started doing it was because I had an insatiable urge to do whatever I could to just be better. Now, better could be a lot of things. What does better mean? A lot of people would come to their own conclusions about what would be better. Now, for me, I like taking in as much information from as many sources as humanly possible. I don't think any domain is off limits. If you go in with the explicit desire just to learn. Now it becomes dangerous, at least on some things, when you take that and you apply action or your will to that. Let's say it's fun to know how to make black powder, but it can be dangerous if you don't know what you're doing. It's also dangerous if you don't have all the necessary information that other people have developed over time and going into it with that sort of knowledge. Now, of course, this sort of way of thinking can be applied to anything. It's great to understand how to play the stock market, but it's only good to understand it to a certain degree. To allow it to become an all-consuming facet of your life, that's another issue. Now that becomes an issue. Especially when it's something like, for instance, for myself, video games. I enjoy playing video games a lot. One of the biggest issues I'm dealing with right now is that there's nothing there to play. I think the only things I'm relatively excited for is Ashes of Creation, I think, and then Elden Ring, just because of Dark Souls. But outside of that, I'll be honest with you, there's nothing. I'm playing through Borderlands 3 right now, and I'm playing it. It's disgusting. I don't know. It's just I'm not to say that I'm not having fun with it. No, there's just I can only stand playing it for like maybe an hour and a half before I just want to give up on it. And not that like if you enjoy it, I don't really care. It's meh. And then all the other games that I have, I don't like. I want to play through the Amnesia series because I like the creators, and I think that the Amnesia games plus, I forget what the first set was, but I like to play horror games, and I want to play other horror games. The only issue is that I need to start live streaming them, or I can do another YouTube channel, but I'd rather just live stream it so I don't have to worry about having to capture it and then upload it, adding more to my work schedule, especially since I have to wait. It takes time for things to get rolling, so I just have to go at it at a smooth pace. Pace. So what I'm doing right now is there's this one art that I really enjoy, and it's just a bunch of dots. It's all dots. The whole thing is just different colored dots to express the whole image. Now, I want to take it so that anywhere you look in that specific area and everywhere around it has a great amount of detail to it. And I really enjoy it. I'll be honest with you, because this is the first video, this is only the first hour of it, I go into way more detail, and it's kind of fun. My mom at this point thinks it's a little overboard. Quite frankly, I don't think it's overboard enough. So, a few other things. The prospects of... So, what I'm working on right now is I'm working out... what I want to do is I want to see if it's possible to fully crowdsource a anime. Because I'm a nerd. Well, at this point, screw it. I'm a contractor. Home model repair and all the whole 9 yards. But I'm also an incredibly huge nerd. I like anime. I'm 28 years old. I own my own construction business, though, like a small scale. Don't give me too much credit. It is nothing big. It is like single man operated. Go out and get paid money, basically. That's nothing special. But it's actually kind of funny because right now I'm dealing with a company doesn't want to pay me the money that they owe me, which is never good. Mostly because I don't like having to deal with such scenarios like this. I am a very easygoing person. I don't care too much, but I had to bring it up. But the way you go about things is particularly important. It's very easy to... Actually, here's a very good, poignant observation. So one of the things I observe is whenever dealing with specific scenarios, you can handle it different ways. One of the ways is to lose your head, become emotional, tie it to an emotional response. How dare they do this? It may not go to that point, and it may never start from that scenario. But that it is one response of an action taken against you, right? So let's say like someone bumps into you. How dare you do that to me, right? That's a sense of pride in strictly the ego, the body, the person that stands before you as you look upon someone. Though you can just simply let it, like, probably the best response, probably the best state of being to handle scenarios is like being water. And it sounds like such a cliche, believe me, I know. But it just allowing things to roll right off of you. Just allowing it, just going with the flow. You don't, mostly because of the fact that it's weird, because you'd be surprised you can build momentum really quickly. Now, building momentum or starting a chain of sequences that end up resulting in bigger chain of sequences that result in bigger chain of sequences, like water being evaporated by the sun to go up into the clouds, to be carried across through the clouds, to give shade to the people or give shade to areas, eventually for it to fall and then to erode away the land or take the land and move it somewhere else. Or in some cases, it was the last straw. It was the one rainstorm that collapses an entire area of ground and you get a mud flood. I think it's the equivalent. I think one of the philosophies is, or not even philosophy, but the butterfly effect movie, where the outside of a butterfly flapping its wings, something like that, it's more in tune with nature. Nature works with itself unfazed, though it does change, mostly unfazed. It will always nature, or Earth, will always re-exert itself over whatever man builds. So one of this is a concept that a contractor knows perfectly. You get a hole in your siding. Now your house is now opened up to the nature. Water then comes into the house, starts eating away at your wall, getting into the insulation, depending on what kind of backing you have for the siding. Now, let's say it's just like regular ply, like I think it's like it's not half-inch plywood, probably half-inch. No, you shouldn't have to take that much. You should be able to get away with a 1/4 inch. Well, I think that's depending on code. I'd have to scrub back up on that. It's been a while. We ended up, me and my dad, before he left, ended up building a shed. It's for two really, really nice gals. They unfortunately, and it's sad, past year, the daughter, the couple, one of the girls of the couple, her mother passed away, and that kind of really put her through a ringer, and then everything that unfolded afterwards. It's really unfortunate. But the shed was really nice looking. But in any case, nature will re-exert itself. So, the best thing to do, and I think if believe my friend, he was telling me about a section in Musashi where he went to a farming village and they were getting flooded out year after year or whatever. And so then I guess with his guidance, they reestablished a town that kind of worked with how the land would flood. Mud flood. Sorry, there's a video on Edge of Wonder that I really enjoy that's about mud flood. And the guy that talks about it is so... I gotta check to see if there's any more videos. It's so cool. In any case, so Musashi is like, well, if nature keeps messing with you, gotta get out of the way or figure out a way to work with nature. But that's the simple principle of working with nature instead of trying to exert dominance over nature is what I think we should start learning more of. For instance, how do you change someone? Now, you got a few ways you can do that. Either one, you can force them, put a gun against their head, and demand that they start to act differently. I'm not sure whoever is going to pay attention to that. Now let's take a step back. Let's say you point out their problems for them. The issue now is that you are pointing things out from them. No person ever will conduct change by being judged. I don't think if the only means to convincing someone is to be judging them, then you are not having an argument. You're not having a conversation. You're not talking about philosophy. You are merely dictating the correct path for someone. I don't think that's a very good method of going about conducting change in other people. One of the more effective means that I've noticed so far is merely presenting yourself as change. It sounds a little weird, and I probably described it terribly. But let me try to bring this in a little bit. It's a thought that I don't really go to too much. Mostly because I'm too busy with trying to get my life in order to worry about someone else's life, if you know what I mean. Of course, when I see other people, I can gauge what they could be doing. Like, what could they be doing with their life? Where would they... I wouldn't say be happier. Mostly because the fact is just everyone nowadays, maybe it's because of the whole COVID thing, I'm not entirely sure, but it just seems like everyone has this deep, deep sadness that they're holding on to for no reason. I think, because one of the things that I started doing for myself is I have been living purely for myself by my own means. Now, I'm in a position to be able to do so fully. So, economic means are okay. My living standards are good. My connection with everyone else around me is great. So how do I become better? How do I improve? One of the biggest things that I've started noticing is I need to create something, anything. Whatever medium that I can create with is good enough for now. And get into a repetition of making something. Make anything. Try it, whether it is... So the first part was making my body better. Great. I wanted to exercise. I want to get to a point where I am exercising every day and I have the energy to do so. So making sure that what I eat is conducive to producing more energy. Not sugars. No, I'm talking about stop wasting energy in thought that doesn't become something. Sounds weird. I don't, specifically with let's say politics. I understand politics. I'm not going to talk about it. But I will pay attention to it. But I won't allow myself to have thoughts of politics permeate within my mind throughout the whole day. So when I'm sitting there and I'm watching politics, I work through my judgment there. I go through the process of understanding what's going on there at that moment. And that's about it. All I have to do is understand what's going on right now, and I'm good. I go on to the rest of the day to sketch for almost 4 hours. I believe it may be 3 or 4 hours. But for me, that's good enough. I don't need to be an activist. If someone wants to engage me in conversation about such matters, personally, I don't. I find conversations only constructive when the other person is truly trying to figure something out. Most of the time, people merely only want to find validation in the means that they understand the world. I don't care about that. The only thing that I need to do right now is trying to get my thoughts out in a means that it's recorded, that maybe sometime down the road I listen to it again in order to re-understand concepts and ways to view, or like a coming back to prototype thought constructs in order to understand the world's nature. And it's not like it's weird, it's not like a machine, it's just a means of specific avenues of thought to come to better conclusions or more precise conclusions to what truth is. Now, I believe the earlier renditions of this were alchemy, the turning leaded thoughts into gold, spoken gold or whatever. But one of the things that I really enjoy doing is to breaking my... So I think the concept... I always understood the concept of having to break something down, building it back up, to break it down again, to build it back up, to break it down again, to build it back up, because... And then every time you build it back up, it gets better. Every time you do... You have to rid yourself of perceived expectations of your own skill. So those times, and I know that there's a lot of times that this happens as an artist, whether it's sketching or playing an instrument, like the guitar, they run into the point of, oh, this, I'm just not doing as good as I did before. Which is fine to come across it, but it's when you come across it, just keep playing it out. It's like, that thought comes to your head because you're worried about how well is your skill progressing. For me, as with conducting art, I found throughout my life. Now, this is something that I've observed over the course of probably about 20, well, not 20 years, because I wasn't super self-aware because I only have one thought that I remember, and that was talking to a speech tutor when I was younger. Originally, well, my parents thought that I was that I had a mental affliction, but it ends up it's fine. Apparently I was able to speak the whole time. I just had nothing to say to anyone around me until someone, I imagine the only thing that would make sense is that because I became used to my sister, my mother, my father, my stepdad, that what is the communication verbally wasn't necessary if I was able to obtain things via just unspoken language. So point to something, it's like, I want that. Though once I came across, let's say someone new, let's say the tutor, especially a speech tutor, it was something new. And you're not able to, I mean, you could do sign language, of course, but what's the point of that if I can just speak what I'm thinking? And right away, it was the first day, started speaking. Now, of course, is analyzing the actions of a 5-year-old with pure intent, like engaging exactly what's going on. Okay, hard sell. I get that. One of the aspects about me, and ask anyone, I go off my pure instinct. I actually I've found that anytime that I go out of my instinctive way of going about things, so an instinctive process of thinking about something, if I altered it from my initial stance, it wasn't always perfect, but I had a stronger case of failure than if I just would have went with my gut instinct. Now, I'm not talking about a gut instinct of, oh, I'm looking for this, ergo it proves that this action is exactly how I should go about it. No. What is your physiological response? What is the first thought that comes into your mind? What specific, as you start understanding what kind of emotion is there, oh, buddy, my rabbit came up and smelling my leg. But understanding how you respond physically to scenarios is highly, highly important. Mostly because you don't know how, I'm going to refer to it as, and by the way, I'm talking to a bunch of people that get the tingles when people talk softly. So don't judge me when I talk about gut instinct. I'm joking. So, one of the aspects was, who do I surround myself with? Who are my friends? How do I determine what a friend is? What is this metric? What is, eventually, as only re-observing myself in it almost feels like when Dumbledore would pull memories out of his head and put it into the water and then re-experience the whole on memory and whatnot. Like, I think it's like the dreaming well or whatever, dreaming fountain. But I'm able to observe specific things only about myself, of course, and then from there I can guess what everyone else was like, what they were dealing with. Specifically like people like my mom, people I've been around more. The more I'm around you, the better I can hone in on how you think, how you act, how you would act, what kind of questions can I ask, to what degree, in order to get more information. By the way, people would think that that is not how someone can possibly go about living. My friend that I don't want to use any names, but I have always been able to severely impress them with my ability to get just strange information from people that you wouldn't think would be willing to let other people know. More like, and I'm talking way out there personal stuff. Like, I've heard, it's really funny because sometimes it actually gets kind of uncomfortable. Like, I don't need to know that, but thanks for sharing kind of stuff. And I'm not going to share it on here. No, not doing it. Plus, on top of that, a couple of them were actually like, they asked me to keep it secret, so I cannot talk about it either. But it's just always fascinating because the more you I think it is massively important for people to be exposed to different states of where people are, okay? So a state of a person is how do they exist. I think it's a very simplistic understanding. Though, what that means is how much control do you have over your emotions? How much control do you have over your expressive thought? How much control do you have over your like your thinking process? I think it's very important. Now, of course, this is just my thoughts. No one has to abide by anything that I'm saying. I'm trying to go through in my own head because I generally try not to. Oh, it's weird. It's not that I'm trying not to do something. It's just existing as that. I generally don't think about things. Most of the time I'm feeling the presence of my body. So I don't think of anything. I just feel. So my thoughts are replaced with analyzing how my body is existing, feeling the twitches of the muscle as I begin to relax, trying to imagine in my head where all my bones are, where all my muscles are, where all my tendons are, where my skin is, where my body exists at, how far away is my hand from my body. Sort of gaining a mental image of my existence, me, the ego, the physical expression of my choices. And it's so I imagine some people might take that as self-absorbed. I believe that's what people would call self-absorbed, or is being self-absorbed being a person that needs to be the center of conversation. Not entirely sure. I was looking into the philosophy behind the word cynic, so everyone knows what a cynic is, but I don't think a whole lot of people know why that word exists. Where does the philosophy for being a cynic come from? Comes from? Yeah. I don't think many people know where it's very, very interesting. Like, I forget what the man's name was, and I think it was, of course, you're getting philosophy secondhand, and that's never a great thing, but I would heavily suggest looking up the origin of the word cynic, and also look up the origin of Stoic, which is interesting because the two philosophies, even though that they're actually considered... Hi, buddy. Hello, Gimli. Hello. This seems like my rabbit came out to play. Hi there, buddy. You doing good? How you doing, puppy? Unfortunately, I can't give you any treats right now, buddy. The crumpling of the treat bag would be too loud for ASMR. But one of the things I wanted to come back to was, so cynicism and Stoicism, is it Stoicism? Or to be a Stoic and to be a cynic? I know, buddy, I'm sorry. He's smelling my leg, trying to get my attention. Oh, here we go. I have to contort my body in order to pet his head and talk into the mic and be at the correct distance so it's not too loud or too soft. Oh, buddy, come on. So, the thing that I find funny is cynicism and Stoicism, or to be a Stoic and to be a cynic, are almost two sides of the same ideology. The yin yang, the ignorance while becoming then the opposite, becoming educated. The true path of a cynic is to take on the ever-present. And now, of course, the guy that started doing it mocked those that contributed to unchanging society, because essentially they were the people that would mock the people and call them cogs in a wheel, or call other people the sheep. But at the same time, they would a cynic is a person that from the original person would urinate in the street in front of people, bark at people like dogs. Now, at the same time, they used to call this individual that started basically behaving in this way. That time period's equivalent of a dog, which was interesting because then he took it as a compliment, saying that, or reciting that a dog is the purest form of just happiness and engagement. Sorry. Must have been... Huh. I hope. I just heard some... Yeah. Okay. Sorry about that. Sounded like something was just ran... Oh. I bet you squirrels are running across the roof. Right, buddy? Yeah. Right, buddy? Yeah, Gimli heard it too. I'm sorry, buddy. I'll wait till after I'm done with this to pet you, buddy. Okay? Sorry, there was a squirrel, I believe, that ran across the roof. I've been hearing that all day, just random scurrying, but I can never figure out where it's coming from, but this time it's really sounded like it was above me. I live in the attic, so, they also recently cut down some trees to fix a bridge, so I imagine they are probably using the top of this roof as a means of. Because I'm trying not to think that we got mice again. God, we had mice in the other apartment, and it was actually kind of funny because the mouse. We didn't have the traps at the time, so this mouse was running everywhere. Eventually, we got it. It was one night. It was a night before we officially knew that there was indeed a mouse. It ran up onto my bed, or right next to my bed. Ran across the edge of the wall, climbed up onto my bed, ran across me over my shoulder, because I sleep on my side. This mouse ran across my shoulder. Oh, hey, you puppy. Okay, you get more pets. So it literally ran right across me. And it's a shame because I don't want to. I really hope it's not a mouse because I don't want to have to kill it. I don't want to have to try to trap it, and I don't want to have to try to exterminate it because it makes me feel bad. The only way I could think of like capturing it without having to kill it is putting out like the block cage or a cage of some sort, but the issue being is then I have a rabbit. So it becomes equally as hard because I don't want to end up causing harm to my rabbit trying to capture a mouse. So I hope that is really squirrels. I really hope it's squirrels. Better be squirrels. But, getting closer to the end of the video. We still got, how much? I think 9 more minutes left, about. Where is it? There it is. Yeah, about 9 more minutes. I'm trying to keep track of this. So, coming back to doing the art, I'm trying to put as many lines onto the paper as possible to convey this image that I have, and I'm trying to refine it more and more with every blade of grass, to put more grass down, trying to figure out how to shade the tree in order to express its sort of depth, and also try to gain some sort of texture on it. But it's all about putting layers down. If you get bored of doing one specific layer, then go on to a different one. If you get tired of making grass, then start working on the water. Put a little, like I put down 2 little fish in that river, little small ones. It's just because it's like you have this whole paper to express this idea. Why not put as much detail as down as possible? Keep pushing yourself every time until the point where you get tired of pushing yourself and then you just feel like relaxing, which is fine. Again, we need to have times of rest while we have times of action. Similar to, we need I think that. Oh, don't start. Sorry, buddy. Just like I think it's in the Hindu religion where there's actual cycles of growth, then there's cycles of ignorance, and just like I think the best example I've heard so far was strong men make good times. Good times make weak men. Weak men make hard times. Hard times make strong men. Strong men make good times. right now I think we're in the age of, now this is me casting judgment, but I think this is more of an ego thought, but I think we're definitely coming to the age of weak men. It's this masculine energy coming back to the world. Now, I'm not saying that it's like, oh, only men can do it, or whatever. No, it's this extreme drive to keep pushing to be better. And it's wild because it's not just me that's experiencing this sort of difference in themselves, but it's other people that are making they have to make videos about it, because, and they have to talk to other people about the experiences they're going through, because if they don't, you kind of feel like you're going insane, or I mean, like, well, not really, it's weird. The potential to go insane on the ideas, I don't know, it's new. What's happening and what at least what I'm experiencing in my life, it's completely new. It's this almost experiencing everything because it was supposed to be experienced. Like, sometimes you get this feeling like you did this before, but this time you're doing it sooner. Now, granted, that's just a feeling that I've been having as of late. Now, of course, that's tied to a lot of other things and a lot of other thoughts that merely expressing them with no context has no meaning. So, but what does have a lot of meaning is that there's this rising positive force that's happening, and I sort of almost slightly liberating while at the same time intriguing. I wouldn't say scary, because it's not like this. It's nothing scary about it. It's just intense. It's very, very strong, especially when when you yourself, because like I'm trying to work out every single day, though I think I might take Saturday and Sunday off just to relax, just because I got a lot of stuff going on tomorrow. But it's just that there's something awakening right now, and I don't know what it is. Like, maybe it's just human potential finally being unlocked, like in its entirety or whatever. Personally, I have no idea. Well, that would be a lie. I know a lot. I'm not trying to brag either. It's just I don't even care where it comes from. I just need information. And then I can deduce my own what is reality myself. I don't need, like, one of the things I find very disgusting is you need a degree in order to say that you can help heal people. I find that absolutely absurd. I love the idea that in order to get anywhere, you need some sort of paper or some person to say, oh yeah, he knows what he's talking about. I don't know where the incessant need for another person to look at either you, what you're doing, or what you're trying to do, and nod in approval like their opinion truly actually matters in your resolve. I find it very, very funny. And then these people are the ones that would claim themselves to be cynics, when they themselves don't even know what the word even means. We have this colloquial version of what it could mean, But to truly like dive into the philosophy of claiming such a title is something that's very, very much so lost on people. And I believe that it's sometimes used as a mere excuse to look at someone that's trying to do something and just boldly claim that it might not work. Congratulations, Captain Obvious. I know it could fail, but I don't think so. Alright, well, we're coming to the end of the video, so like, comment, subscribe, leave whatever your opinion is in the comment section. I'm a big boy. I wear boxers. I don't have tidy whities. I am a big boy. Alright, you have a good one, and everyone, Godspeed.